On my son's 35th birthday, he locked me outside in a thunderstorm and said I was nothing but a burden holding him back. Just a year earlier, he'd begged me to move in with him. Now I stood in the freezing rain watching through his window as the party continued. Laughter, music, warmth. The cold outside was nothing compared to the pain in my chest. Then headlights cut through the storm. A black Audi pulled up. A man in an expensive coat stepped out, walked straight toward me, and said 5 words. I will destroy them all. I'm grateful you're here listening to my story. Before we continue, do me a favor, comment below where you're watching from and what time it is. It helps me know I'm not talking to an empty room. My name is Dustin Crawford, and I'm 61 years old. 30 years of factory work will do that to you, make you feel older than you are. But I'm not complaining. Hard work never killed anyone, my father used to say. I believed that then. I believe it now. I've been a widower for 30 years. My wife Claire died when our son Nathan was only 5. Cancer took her fast, too fast. After she was gone, it was just me and the boy. 5 years old with his mother's eyes and my stubborn chin. I worked 2 jobs to keep us going. Days at the factory, nights and weekends doing handyman work around the neighborhood. Whatever it took to keep food on the table and a roof over our heads. The house Claire and I bought when we first got married, that small 2-bedroom was supposed to be Nathan's someday. But when he got accepted to a top business school, I knew what I had to do. That kind of education wasn't cheap. So I sold it, took every dollar from that sale and paid for his college. $180,000 over 4 years. Every cent I had. I wanted Nathan to have the life I never had. I wanted him in a suit, not coveralls. Using his mind, not breaking his back. And he did it. He graduated with honors, landed a management job at a big Chicago company, and climbed fast. By 35, he was making more money than I'd seen in my entire life. Then he met Ainsley Preston Old Money, the kind of family that's been rich so long they don't remember being anything else. Beautiful, polished, and from what I could tell, not exactly thrilled about having a factory worker for a father-in-law. Her mother, Evelyn, was even worse, looking down her nose at anyone who didn't summer in the Hamptons, or whatever it was those people did. But Nathan seemed happy. They got married, bought a mansion in Lake Forest for $2.8 million. Lake Forest, that's serious money territory, north of Chicago on the water. 8 bedrooms, more bathrooms than seemed necessary. The American dream, right there. About a year ago, Nathan called me. I was living in a small 1-bedroom apartment on the south side, getting by, on my pension, barely. Dad, he said, his voice warm like the old days, you've worked hard enough. Come live with us. We've got all this space. It's time I took care of you for a change. I hesitated. I don't want to be a burden, son. Dad, you're my father. You raised me. You gave me everything. You could never be a burden. Please, let me do this. So I said yes, packed up my few belongings that fall and moved into Nathan's mansion. For the first time in decades, I felt something close to hope. Maybe we could finally be a real family again. Maybe after all those years of me taking care of him, we could just be father and son. No more struggling, no more worrying. Just us. I remember that first day walking through those massive front doors, looking at the chandelier in the foyer that probably cost more than my old apartment. Nathan showed me around, proud as anything. This is your home now, Dad, he said, and I believed him. But within the first week I realized something was very wrong. That something turned out to be my room. End of a long hallway, 2nd floor, right next to the laundry room. Small, plain. Nathan showed me in that first day like it was a privilege. Perfect for you, Dad, he said. Close to everything. What I needed, apparently, was to be out of sight. The reality set in fast. That first morning, I came downstairs early to make myself useful. Ainsley was already in the kitchen, dressed like she had somewhere important to be. When I walked in, she wrinkled her nose. You're up early, she said. Not a greeting, just a statement. I offered to make breakfast. She glanced at the clock. I suppose since you're here. Then she walked out. So I made breakfast, and I kept making it. Pretty soon it wasn't an offer, it was expected. Breakfast dishes straightening the living room, fixing whatever needed fixing. Ainsley left notes. Dustin garden needs weeding or Dustin faucet dripping. Never please. Never thank you. Just tasks. Evelyn visited 3 times a week, letting herself in with her own key. Dustin, dear, she'd say in that fake sweet voice, since you're just sitting around, maybe you could help with the dishes. I wasn't sitting around. I was always doing something. But I did the dishes anyway. By month 2, I tried talking to Nathan. caught him before he disappeared into his office. "Son, I feel like I'm working here, not living here." He barely looked up from his phone. "Not now, Dad. Big presentation tomorrow." "When then?" "Later." He closed the door. 3 months after that, I tried again. "Can we talk about my role here, what's expected?" Nathan sighed. "Dad, we'll discuss it, just not now, okay?" The third time was September. I finally said it plain. "Your wife talks to me like I'm the help." He sighed that way you sigh at a complaining child. "She's particular about the house. Don't take it personally." "How else should I take it?" "Just try to be more understanding." Then he walked away. Later never came. It was always later, always tomorrow, always when he wasn't busy, which meant I was never important enough. The worst part wasn't the work. I'd worked hard my whole life. It was the way I disappeared. Guests would see me clearing dishes and ask Ainsley, "Who's your handyman?" She'd say, "That's Nathan's father." Never my name, never father-in-law. Just Nathan's father, like I came with the furniture. Evelyn was more direct. "At least he's useful," she told Ainsley once loud enough for me to hear. "Some elderly parents just sit around. This one earns his keep." I told myself it was temporary, that Nathan would see what was happening, would remember I was his father, not his employee. I told myself he was just busy adjusting to married life, climbing the ladder. I told myself a lot of things that weren't true. Every day I became a little more invisible. And I stayed because where else could I go? My pension wouldn't cover rent anywhere decent. And this was my son, my only family. The boy I'd raised, the man I'd given everything for. That had to count for something. Then came November. Nathan found me one afternoon, and there was energy in his voice I hadn't heard in months. "Dad, my birthday's coming up. I'm planning something big. Really big. Important people are coming, business contacts, potential investors. I need everything to be perfect." He looked at me, then really looked at me like he used to when he was a kid. "Can you help make sure everything runs smooth? It's crucial for my career." Something lifted in my chest. A chance. This was my chance to show him I still mattered. "Of course, son," I said. "I'll make it perfect." 2 weeks before the party, Nathan found me in the garage. "Dad, Julian Rhodes is coming to my birthday." His voice carried an excitement I hadn't heard in months. "He's a tech billionaire. If I land this $50 million deal with him, it changes everything for my career." Julian Rhodes. The name tugged at something in the back of my mind, but I couldn't place it. 15 years since I'd been anywhere near that world. "Julian Rhodes," I said. Nathan waved his hand. "You wouldn't know him, Dad. Different league entirely." He looked at me then. "This party has to be perfect. Can you make that happen?" This was my chance. "I'll make it perfect, son." I had $15,000 saved. 10 years of pension setting aside what I could. I spent every cent. The best bakery in Lake Forest for the cake. Caterers for the appetizers. A watch Nathan had mentioned wanting. Decorations, flowers, the whole works. At 61, my back wasn't what it used to be, but I pushed through. 2 weeks of planning every detail, making calls, arranging deliveries. The morning of the party, I woke at 5. Cooking, setting up tables, hanging decorations, arranging flowers. By noon, my back was screaming and my feet were swollen. But I kept going. For my son. For my chance. By 7 that evening, everything was perfect. The house looked like a magazine spread. I'd cleaned myself up, put on my best clothes, simple but pressed and neat. I stood ready to be part of things. The guests arrived. Business associates, neighbors, colleagues. Suits and cocktail dresses filled the house. Nathan stood by the door, greeting everyone, all smiles. I waited for him to introduce me. He never did, just kept shaking hands while I stood there like a piece of furniture. Ainsley swept past in an expensive dress. "Welcome to our home," she told guests. I approached Nathan with the watch I'd bought. "Son, I got you something." He barely glanced over. "Not now, Dad. I'm greeting people." Waved me off. A woman I didn't know tapped my shoulder. "Excuse me, could you get me a drink?" That's when it hit me. She thought I was staff. They all did. I became invisible, carrying trays of appetizers, collecting empty glasses, refilling drinks, moving through rooms full of people who looked right through me. No one asked my name. No one said thank you. I was just part of the service, another hired hand. The house hummed with laughter and conversation. Nathan opened gifts with Ainsley by his side, both of them glowing under the attention. The cake I'd ordered sat perfect on its table. The food I'd arranged disappeared from silver trays. Everything I'd spent my savings on, everything I'd worked for, and I was invisible in the middle of it all. By 8:30, I'd retreated to the kitchen. away from the crowd, from the humiliation. I stood at the sink washing dishes, even though we'd hired people for that, just needing something to do with my hands. Something to make me feel useful. Heels clicked on the tile floor behind me. I turned. Evelyn stood in the doorway, that fake smile on her face. She took her time crossing the kitchen heels, clicking with each deliberate step. "Dustin, dear," Evelyn said, voice coated in false concern. "We need to talk." I kept my hands in the dishwater and didn't turn around. About what Evelyn... "Don't you think you're a bit out of place tonight?" The sweetness vanished. "Look at yourself. Those old clothes. That working-class manner. You're embarrassing Nathan in front of very important people." I gripped the plate tighter, soap squeaking beneath my palms. "Mr. Rhodes is here for a $50 million deal," she continued, drifting closer. "This is crucial for Nathan's career, and you're wandering around like you belong here." "I'm his father," I said. "You were useful when he was a child," she replied, studying her nails. "But now he has a real family, a real wife, real connections, people who matter." Each word hit like a blow. "You're just a burden, Dustin." An awkward reminder of his poor past, the factory worker, the tiny apartment, all those years of barely getting by. She straightened her pearls. "If I were you, I'd stay in the kitchen. Let the real people celebrate." Then she left, trailing expensive perfume and poison. I stood shaking, clutching that wet plate until my knuckles burned. I wanted to shout, to throw something, but my throat locked tight. The worst part wasn't the cruelty, it was that she had only said aloud what Nathan never would. What he believed. Something inside me shattered. I saw it all again. The endless factory shifts, the handyman jobs on weekends, other fathers watching games while I worked. I saw Claire's house sold so Nathan could have his degree. 28 years of sacrifice. And for what to be told to stay in the kitchen. No, not anymore. If my son truly believed I was an embarrassment from a past he wanted erased, he would have to say it to my face. I dried my hands and walked out. The party throbbed with music and laughter. The room glowed with success. Nathan stood by the gift table with Ainsley surrounded by admirers, opening another extravagant present as people applauded. Evelyn watched from the side like a queen over her court. I walked straight through the crowd. No one really saw me. "Nathan." He looked up, annoyance flashing. "Not now, Dad. I need to talk to you." "I'm busy." My voice rose. "It's important." Conversations faltered. Faces turned. His cheeks flushed. "This isn't the time." "There's never a time," I said. "It's always later. When am I important enough for you?" The room fell silent. "Dad, you're making a scene. I spent my life giving you everything I said. I worked until my hands bled. I sold your mother's house so you could go to college. I gave you all I had." My voice shook. "And you treat me like I'm nothing, like I'm your servant, like I don't exist." Ainsley looked at me with open disgust. Nathan's eyes were cold. "When did it happen?" I asked. "When did I stop being your father and become your burden?" The silence was crushing. Glass clinked somewhere in the room. His face darkened. He set the gift down. His fist tightened. Then he grabbed my arm fast, and hard fingers digging into muscle. "You're ruining everything," he whispered. And just like that, my son, the boy I raised, the man I sacrificed everything for, held me like I was a problem to be dragged away. He didn't see the years in my eyes anymore, only an obstacle between him and the life he had chosen. That was everything. Before I could react, he was dragging me, not leading, dragging. Guests stepped aside as we passed. I saw Ainsley's face calm and satisfied. Evelyn gave a small, approving nod. "Nathan, wait." He pulled me to the front door and flung it open. Cold rain and wind slammed into me. "You ruined my party," he said coldly. "You humiliated me in front of everyone, in front of the most important man of my career. Nathan, please." "You've always been like this," he snapped. "Needy, demanding, always making everything about you. I gave you a place to stay, and you repay me by destroying my reputation." Then he said the words that broke what little I had left. "You were always a burden, Dad. I succeeded in spite of you, not because of you. Get out." He shoved me backward. I slipped on the wet porch. The door slammed shut. The lock clicked. For a few seconds I just stood there, frozen not from the cold, but from the shock. My own son had thrown me out like I meant nothing. My chest felt hollow, like something inside had been torn away. Rain soaked through my clothes in seconds. "Nathan," I pounded on the door. "Please let me in." No answer. The music inside started again. My phone was dead. My keys and wallet were still inside. I had nothing. The houses around me were dark. The storm grew heavier, the street already beginning to flood. And still a foolish part of me believed he might open the door, that he might remember I was his father. I waited. Through the window I saw the party continue. Nathan laughed by the fireplace, drink in hand. Ainsley moved among the guests. The large cake I had paid for was rolled out, and everyone applauded. They celebrated like I had never existed. The cold sank deep into my body. My hands went numb. My chest tightened. I slid down the wall and collapsed into the mud, unable to stand. Memories flooded me. Rocking him as a baby, cleaning his scraped knees, celebrating his graduation together in that tiny apartment. Where did I lose my son? I am 61 years old. I was thrown out into the storm by the child I gave my life to. My body was failing, my heart breaking and still. The worst pain was this: I loved him. I still loved him. Then headlights cut through the rain. A sleek, expensive car slowed as it approached Nathan's house, and I was too weak to move. The headlights cut through the rain like twin blades. I couldn't move. My body had given up, 61 years old, soaked through, kneeling in the mud outside my son's house. The cold had stopped hurting, and that terrified me. The black Audi slowed and stopped 10 feet away. The passenger door opened. A man stepped out. Tall, mid-40s, wrapped in a tailored coat that likely cost more than I had spent on Nathan's party. He held an umbrella, but didn't open it. He only stared at me through the downpour. Then he ran. No, 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 his voice broke through the storm. He dropped into a crouch in front of me, water splashing around his expensive shoes. When I saw his face clearly, recognition struck his eyes. Mr. Crawford. Rain streamed into my eyes as I searched his face. I couldn't place him. It's me, he said. Julian Rhodes. The name hit like lightning. 33 years ago, skinny kid, worn shoes, working 3 jobs for community college. I had been his supervisor at the factory, saw something in him, and borrowed $70,000. I didn't have to send him to a real university. Now he stood in front of me as the billionaire Nathan had been desperate to impress. What are you doing out here? Julian demanded, anger sharp, but not aimed at me. I tried to answer. My teeth chattered too hard to form words. Come on. He hooked his arm under mine and hauled me up. I had no strength left, but he was strong enough for both of us. He half carried me to the Audi. Joseph heat on. Max. Now. The driver jumped out and opened the back door. Julian guided me inside. Warm air crashed over me, stealing my breath. He climbed in beside me, pulled off his coat, and wrapped it around my shoulders. The roar of rain became distant. Julian leaned closer. Whose house is that? Through the rain-streaked window, Nathan's mansion glowed with music and light. My son's, I whispered. Julian went rigid. Your son threw you out in this storm. I didn't answer. My silence was enough. His jaw tightened. How long have you been outside? 20 minutes, maybe more. And he just left you, he said softly. I lowered my eyes. He said I was embarrassing him. Julian's face drained of color, then flushed with rage. The $50 million deal he wanted tonight, he said quietly, that was with me. Understanding settled coldly in my chest. Julian laughed, once harsh and humorless. He threw you out to impress me. He studied me. He doesn't know who you are to me, does he? I shook my head. Good. Julian typed quickly on his phone. Outside, 2 black SUVs pulled up, tires hissing on wet pavement, as men in dark suits stepped out. Julian opened the door and cold rushed in. Stay here. Stay warm. Joseph will watch you. You're safe now. He turned, faced the house, and walked to the door. He didn't knock. From inside the Audi, I watched Julian stride through the rain to Nathan's door. He didn't knock. He opened it and walked in. The heater blasted warm air, yet I kept shaking. Joseph tucked another blanket around my shoulders. Through the rain-blurred glass, I saw the bright lights, the crowd, the chandeliers. Then the music stopped. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw the shift heads turning, voices dying. Nathan's smile freezing as Julian stood in the center of the room, water dripping from his coat. Nathan stepped forward with that practiced charm. Mr. Rhodes. You made it. Please let me. Julian raised a hand. Nathan fell silent. Good evening, Julian said evenly. I'm Julian Rhodes. The billionaire tech investor Nathan has been trying to impress. Ainsley moved closer to Nathan, confused. The room held its breath. 33 years ago, Julian continued, I was nothing. Poor. Working 3 jobs for community college. No future. Guests exchanged uneasy looks. One man changed my life. He paid $70,000 he didn't have borrowed it, mortgaged everything to send me to a real university. My chest tightened as I pressed my hand to the window. That man is Dustin Crawford. Nathan's face drained of color. And 20 minutes ago, Julian said coldly, Nathan Crawford threw Dustin into a thunderstorm because he was embarrassed by him. Gasps rippled. Ainsley covered her mouth. Evelyn stood frozen. Nathan stammered, Mr. Rhodes, there's been a misunderstanding. Dustin Crawford is your father, Julian Cudden. The man who raised you worked himself to the bone for you and sold his home to pay for your education. Nathan couldn't speak. Julian pulled out his phone and put it on speaker. Douglas, this is about Nathan Crawford. Nathan, what about him? He's terminated. Immediately. A pause. Julian, I can't just... You can, or I pull $400 million in investments. Another pause. Consider it done. Nathan staggered back. Julian didn't stop. This house is mortgaged at $2.8 million. I just bought that mortgage. Foreclosure begins tomorrow. You'll be evicted within 30 days. Please, Nathan whispered. Julian turned to the guest. This man threw his father into a storm. Would any of you trust him? One by one, people left without a word. No handshakes, no goodbyes. Ainsley stood rooted. Evelyn retreated. Gerald and Kenneth entered in dark suits. Remove Mr. Crawford's belongings, Julian ordered. Nathan's laptop awards, liquor, and gifts were swept into boxes. Stop, Nathan lunged. Kenneth blocked him without a touch. Nathan froze. You have 1 hour to pack what you can carry, Julian said. Then the locks change. Where am I supposed to go? Nathan whispered. I don't care, Julian replied. You didn't care where your father would go. Julian turned to leave, then looked back. If you ever contact Dustin again, I will destroy whatever life you rebuild. Do you understand? Nathan said nothing. Julian exited into the rain. From the car, I saw Nathan sink to his knees in the doorway of his empty house. Julian got into the seat beside me, rain briefly spilling in. He looked exhausted, not proud. It's done, he said. I nodded, unable to speak. Through the window, the lights in Nathan's house still burned, but the music was gone. He stood alone in the doorway, soaked and staring at nothing. I felt no victory, only a hollow emptiness. Julian drove me to his Streeterville penthouse that night, 45 floors above Lake Michigan. Dr. Carolyn Hughes was waiting. Mild hypothermia. Exhaustion. She ran tests, drew a hot bath, gave me dry clothes, and made me finish a bowl of soup I couldn't taste. Then I slept for 16 straight hours. When I woke, Julian sat at the breakfast table with coffee, eggs, and toast. He poured me a cup without asking. You gave me a future, Mr. Crawford, he said. Now I'm giving you one back. Not charity. I need your help. I'm 61 and broken, I said. You're 61 and wise, he replied. There's a difference. I didn't believe him. The first month was hell. I stayed in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, crushed not only by losing Nathan, but by losing the son I thought I had raised. Dr. Laura Harrison came twice a week. She mostly listened. You're grieving twice, she told me, for your son and for the man you believed he was. That hurt the most. Julian never pushed. Breakfast appeared outside my door. He checked in once a day. He never demanded talk or progress. He simply stayed. By week 4, I couldn't stand the walls anymore. I went to a coffee shop in the Loop just to feel normal. At the next table, a young man spoke to his friend, voice shaking. My kid won't look at me since the divorce. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I asked if I could sit. His name was Marcus. For 20 minutes, I talked about showing up, listening, and choosing patience over pride. I told him kids don't need perfect. They need present. When I left, he shook my hand. Thank you, sir. I needed that. Outside in the cold Chicago wind, I felt something return. I still had value. 2 weeks later, Julian asked me to join him as an advisor for his mentorship division. My job was to review grant requests and interview young people who needed funding. I wasn't reading resumes. I was reading character, the damage, the discipline, the fire that survived failure. I mentored 5, then 10, then 20. For the first time in my life, I wasn't giving because I had to. I was giving because I chose to. 8 months after the storm, I was reviewing applications again. Most were from single fathers who had hit bottom, men who looked like I had. An idea formed. I want to launch a program, I told Julian, just for fathers, men who lost their way. He smiled. What will you call it? I thought of the rain outside Nathan's house, of the broken men I had met, of the chance I never thought I'd get. Second chances, I said. Julian nodded. Then let's build it. From that moment on, the work became my anchor, my purpose, and my quiet redemption built. One father at a time, one steady hand, reaching back into the dark with hope. 8 months after the storm, I sat across from Julian in his office. Second Chances Mentorship Program, I said. for struggling fathers. Julian didn't hesitate. What do you need? 500,000 to start. He wrote the check immediately. When do we launch? We rented a small office in the West Loop. Modest, warm, unthreatening. A place where broken men could walk in without shame. At the first meeting, 15 fathers showed up. Some were worn down like me. Others were young, terrified of losing their kids the way I'd lost Nathan. I told them the truth. I thought being a good father meant sacrificing everything. I was wrong. It means teaching your children to value sacrifice, not exploit it. The room fell silent. I lost my son. But I found my purpose. And maybe by helping you, I can help him too. By December, we had helped 50 fathers. By 18 months, 120. 80 had rebuilt their relationships, at least in part. Local news called it Second Chances, the program healing broken families. I didn't care about attention. I cared that it worked. While I was rebuilding fathers, Nathan was being broken down. His first letter came in February from Rogers Park. He lived in an $800 studio. He delivered food for 12 hours a day. I understand the cold and the loneliness now, he wrote. I deserve this. I cried. I did not reply. By June, Ainsley divorced him and moved to Denver with a wealthier man. Evelyn vanished to Florida bankrupt and dependent on her sister. Nathan was alone. In August, he began volunteering at a free clinic in Humboldt Park. One day, he helped an 82-year-old man whose son had abandoned him. The story mirrored mine. Nathan broke down in the bathroom. Later, he said, I was that son. That was his turning point. In December, he entered therapy with Dr. Laura Harrison, the same therapist I had seen. His second letter arrived soon after. I'm not asking for forgiveness, he wrote. I just want you to know I'm trying to become the man you thought I was. This time, I answered. Keep trying. Prove it with actions, not words. 16 months later, he met Emma Wilson, a nurse at the clinic. She knew nothing of his past wealth, only a man who showed up and cared. You're good at this, she told him once. I'm learning, he replied. 24 months after the storm, my phone rang. Nathan asked if we could meet. I looked around my office. 200 fathers had walked through these doors. 80 families had begun to heal. I thought of earned forgiveness and real redemption. Okay, I said. My office, Second Chances, Saturday, 10 a.m. He agreed in a whisper. Saturday morning, I watched fathers arrive for our weekly meeting. Then a car stopped. Nathan stepped out thinner and humbler. A woman held his hand. Emma. He inhaled, let go, and walked toward the door at last now. Nathan stepped through the door. The walls of Second Chances were covered in photos. Fathers and sons, mothers and daughters, families reunited, proof that broken things could heal. Nathan stopped. His eyes scanned the walls. Then he turned to me, tears streaming down his face. Dad, you did all this. We did? I said quietly. Sit down. He sat across from me. Emma beside him. He looked thin, humbler, older than 38. Dad, I was the worst version of a man, Nathan began. His voice shook. I chose status over love. I can't take that back. He pulled out a folder. Therapy journal. 18 months of sessions. 500 hours of volunteer work. Reference letters from the clinic. I'm not asking to be your son again, he said. I know I lost that right. I just need you to know I'm trying. Emma leaned forward. Mr. Crawford, I met Nathan at his lowest. I didn't know about mansions or money. I loved a man who cared about people no one else saw. She paused. He talks about you every day. What he lost, what he's trying to become. I looked at Nathan, then at Emma, then at the folder. I hear you, Nathan, I said slowly. But I need time, maybe years. I need to see consistency, not just words. I'll wait, Nathan whispered. However long? I nodded. We'll start with family therapy. Together. Dr. Harrison will mediate. Nathan's face crumpled. Thank you, Dad. Thank you. 18 months passed. Monthly therapy sessions, slow, painful work. Nathan married Emma at the courthouse. Simple. I attended. Julian didn't. He was still watching, still protective. 3 years after that storm, Nathan called. Dad, you have a granddaughter. I met Hannah when she was 3 days old. Held her in the hospital. Something in me healed when she wrapped her tiny hand around my finger. 6 months later, I hosted a small gathering at my new home. Modest, earned with my salary from Second Chances. Nathan, Emma, and Hannah came. Julian stopped by, briefly warmer now, but still keeping an eye on things. I sat on the couch teaching Hannah to grip my finger. Nathan watched. You're a better grandfather than I deserved, he said quietly. I'm not doing this for you. I replied. I'm doing it for her. She deserves a grandfather who shows up. Nathan nodded. He understood. That night I wrote in my journal. Julian didn't save me that night by destroying Nathan's house. He saved me by showing me I was worth saving. Every father I help, every family I reunite, that's my real legacy. Second Chances has helped 200 fathers find their way home. Nathan is just one of them. The word destroy that Julian said, it wasn't about Nathan's life. It was about destroying the man I used to be, the man who thought his value came from what others took. Now I build. Now I heal. Now I teach men it's never too late for a second chance. That's a legacy worth leaving. Looking back at my story, I see a man who confused sacrifice with love. For 35 years, I gave everything, my health, my savings, my home, thinking that's what made me a good father. I was wrong. Here's what I learned, and I hope you'll listen. Don't be like me. Don't teach your children that love means letting them take everything while you become invisible. I thought sacrifice proved my worth. It didn't. It taught Nathan that my value came from what I could give, not who I was. The real lesson. Being a good father means teaching your children to value sacrifice, not exploit it. It means setting boundaries. It means showing them that respect goes both ways. God didn't save me that night just so Julian could destroy Nathan's house. He saved me so I could help 200 other fathers find their way home. So I could teach men that it's never too late for a second chance. This grandpa story isn't just mine, it's a true story that happens to thousands of fathers every day. Men who give everything and get nothing back. Men who lose themselves trying to prove their love. If you're watching this and you see yourself in my story, know this, your worth isn't measured by what others take from you. It's measured by who you choose to become. Second chances help me rebuild. Maybe it can help you too. And if this true story touched you, if these grandpa stories matter to you, leave a comment below. Tell me, have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe so you don't miss the stories that remind us we're not alone. Because every father deserves a second chance.